a small tribal kingdom, fiefdom. You take her biblically, and therefore by contractual obligation, you have committed no statutory bigamy, avoiding the state in its entirety. The states don't like that when you avoid that. The government has no jurisdiction over what goes into a contract. Let's say that again. The government has no jurisdiction what you put in a contract binding between two parties. However, when called upon, the government courts do have jurisdiction over when and if a private contract is broken. They can then render a judgment if it is called to a court of law. I'll say that again. They have no jurisdiction over the terms of your ketubah, but they do have the authority to render a judgment if the terms are purportedly broken or purported to be broken. So they have no authority to determine the terms of a private contract, but if you ask them to intervene and to render a judgment, they will. It will be interesting to see how this all plays out. The court cannot rule against your marriage contract, ketubah. The court cannot declare your ketubah illegal using some legal system like the state marriage licensing gimmick, and that's what it is, it's a gimmick. Did you know that state licensing was originally drawn up to stop black slaves who were recently emancipated through the Emancipation Proclamation under Lincoln to marry, to cohabit with white women as they were doing under slavery? Because everyone knew that black slaves were cohabitating with white women under slavery. Okay, he went from the slave house to the main house to have sex with the master's wife. Okay, so to stop that from happening, the southern states actually started licensing to make sure that two white people appeared before them, or two black people appeared before them, that there wouldn't be one black and one white. That's how, and you want to continue pulling licenses when you don't even need them. There's a way to keep the state completely out of the loop and completely out of your life by contracting through personal contracts and the obligations of the terms of that contract, which the federal court will uphold over and above any state statute. That's in the Constitution. So relax. You can be legally married to more than one woman. Did you hear me? If you know what you're doing. I said you can be legally married to more than one woman. Matter of fact, the truth be told, I really shouldn't tell you this. A woman who wants to have 5 husbands, even though that's against Torah, and Yahuwah forbid, we would never encourage that. But a woman who wants to have 5 husbands, according to the Constitution, can. She could make a contract and amend it to include all of her husbands, or she could make 5 different contracts, one with each husband. And all her relationships are legal and will be upheld by federal court. Now, I'm not encouraging you to do that, because that would violate the word of Yahuwah. Polyandry is forbidden in the word of Yahuwah. I'm just showing you how you have to expose the darkness and shine the light, which is what we're doing in this crucial understanding teaching on the RAMYK channel, which is our channel. It's our channel to express and to promote and to teach freely those things that the Father wants to prepare before the coming of His kingdom. All these things are end-time teachings to prepare the things that the Father has for the coming of His kingdom. Soon everything that can be shaken will be shaken. So the only thing that will remain are the families and the wives and the children that we build now, that we will be able to take into the kingdom, because in the kingdom the tribes of Israel will be restored. What we present to the Father now in this lifetime, we take into the kingdom, they will be restored and they will be expanded, so that each family that is prepared for the kingdom will have 7 wives clinging to one man. So you may prepare a one-man, one-woman tribe, but in the kingdom, Yahuwah will add 6. You may prepare a family of 1 husband and 3 wives now, and in the kingdom, Yahuwah will add 4. He's not going to just turn every single family into 1 husband and 7 wives. He's going to take what you're building now in this life and in this age, and in the Olam Haba, when everything that can be shaken will already have been shaken, and only the family unit and the lives of submitted men and women to the kingdom are those things that will remain, that cannot be shaken. He will take that and put the finishing touches, like Picasso, like a master builder, like a master painter. He will put those finishing touches on those things that you and I are preparing right now and presenting to him for preparation right now. Amen, amen. So when we follow this, the court will not, listen, when you have your ketuvahs all written out and spelled out, the court will not make any ruling against you or the contract itself, nor can they declare the contract illegal, as it is not using the legal system of state marriage licensing. It puts all state and even the federal governments, state governments and the federal government into a bind. Why? Because these contracts are not seen or determined to be criminal matters. So basically you will go to a court that deals in contractual law, which keeps marriage binding away from state control and away from the criminal courts. You getting this? So if you have a marriage contract with 3 wives, the courts cannot determine the terms. They can bring judgment if the parties claim the terms have been violated. You can invite them to bring judgment. But as long as you make a contract with each wife, you are legally married to each wife, you bypass the state, and not only that, here's the best part. It is not a criminal matter. Now, if you go to the state of South Carolina or Georgia or New Jersey, and you try to pull 3 marriage licenses, you are now becoming guilty of man-made bigamy statutes, which are illegal, but they're on the books and they can put you in jail. Because now it's become a criminal matter. But by making the ketuvah and by doing it according to a personal, legally binding contract between consenting adults of sound mind, the matter is kept, even if it is called into federal court. Let's say a woman wants to seek a grievance against her husband, a violation of the contract. It'll go to federal court, but it won't be considered a criminal matter. See that? So these are things these are not tricks and these are not loopholes. This is the law of the land. This is the actual law of the land that the enemy does not want you and I to know about, so he can keep us in bondage and treat us as beggars rather than being free to operate as the kings and the priests that we really, really are. And so we see the entire picture. The entire picture is, if we have our ketuvahs, they are binding, they remain out of criminal courts, they remain away from state jurisdictions, and by a simple ketuvah, we establish the legal marriage between you and your wife, or as many wives as Yahuwah should call you to take. We keep government out of our personal lives, and if there's ever a conflict between husband and wife, or husband and wives, it will be resolved in a federal court that will not overturn the contents of the obligation, but will analyze the obligation and render a judgment, but will not criminalize the husband or the wife for bigamy. Oh, the ways of Yahuwah. Oh, the mind of Yahuwah. Oh, how his ways and his understanding is past finding out. And that's what Romans 13 was all about. It says, if you submit to the authority will protect you. And I just showed you how if you go by the ketuvah and you go by the Torah that allows you to make a ketuvah with your wife or the wives, not only will the state not be able to criminalize you and penalize you, the federal government will protect you. Why? Because you are submitted to the governing institution and to the governing authority without being subject to every law, clean or unclean, that comes out of that governing authority. So, we sign off from our studio here in Bnei Yeshua Synagogue, Broward County, the worldwide headquarters of Yadi International